When automakers name a car, they often choose something that quickly tells potential buyers what the car is all about. For example, the Ford Mustang conjures up images of the American West and unbridled speed and freedom. Ferrari did that too, but instead of flowery imagery, they cut straight to the point with the 812 Superfast. To be frank, there's nothing subtle about this vehicle. Underneath the hood is a V12 beast. Those 12 cylinders push out 789 horsepower and 529 pounds of torque. But it takes more than raw power to keep this prancing pony on the road. It takes tech. While the design of the 812 Superfast is one of the best, if not the best in the Ferrari lineup, I still have a soft spot for the Portofino. All these scoops and cavities, they actually serve a very important purpose. They create a lot of downforce. The entire front fascia was designed to push the car down and optimize the airflow hitting the vehicle. Plus, underneath the front of the car are active aerodynamic elements that open and close to reduce drag that activate at 112 miles an hour. You know, in case you ever go that fast and you need to reduce drag. Meanwhile, the air that enters the radiator is channeled to the top of the hood to add more downforce. These small vents by the headlights, well, they create downforce. In fact, there's little elements underneath the car that do, well, you guessed it, create downforce. That monstrous engine and all that downforce create a Ferrari that has a top speed of 211 miles an hour. Now, that top speed isn't cheap. This car starts at $337,000. The one Ferrari sent us, spec'd out with everything, a ton of carbon fiber, is $475,000. That's a lot of money, but it is a Ferrari, and a Ferrari that goes, well, super fast. Taming all that power and making sure you're going in the right direction is Ferrari's new electric power steering system, or EPS for short. Now, it keeps the Ferrari, well, going in the right direction and is deeply integrated into the rest of the vehicle's electronic controls. And what's nice is that it controls the torque of the steering wheel based on your cornering. It'll tighten the torque of the wheel as you reach the vehicle's grip limit. So you get feedback when you're about to push the car beyond its cornering limits. Plus, if you happen to surpass that limit, the wheel will give you feedback to help you get the car back in line. During my test, both these systems worked as advertised. When I induced a bit of oversteer in a very slick corner, the car, well, it helped me correct itself, and it was subtle without being overbearing, which is what performance drivers want. Plus, if you're new to the supercar world, it'll help you from, well, wrecking your new supercar. But I will stress, do not drive beyond your limits, kids, and definitely go to a track and take some lessons. While getting to and from the track, the interior of the Ferrari follows the automaker's design language and lineage. Almost all the controls are on the steering wheel. It's initially overwhelming the number of buttons that are on here. But after a few hours, I was able to decode the buttons and levers and twisty things and everything that's here on this steering wheel. I will say though, it takes a little bit longer to get used to the turn signal situation. Instead of having a stalk like a regular car, you have these buttons. Button on the right to go right, button on the left to go left. Now, Lamborghini does the same thing, and I like this setup. It's actually really cool. That said, it does take quite a while to erase decades of using your indicator with your left hand. The rest of the interior is pretty minimalistic. It's so minimalistic, in fact, that there are only 2 buttons for the transmission. You have R for reverse and auto to put the car in automatic mode. In order to initiate this car, to get it to go forward, you use one of these paddles. First gear, and then you just take off. There's also this third PS button. Now that's for the launch control. Now, this car will do 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds, and in order to do that, you need this button to unleash the full power of the V12 sitting under the hood. What it has in speed, it sort of lacks in infotainment. The Superfast's bare bones setup is located in the small display near the driver's eye line. I like the location, I just wish it supported CarPlay or Android Auto, at least for navigation. The Ferrari navigation system works, but inputting it with this knob or your voice is a huge pain. And while the infotainment system is what it is here on the right-hand side, on the left side of the dash cluster is essentially another infotainment system that is controlled by its own little knob that you can turn and press. And now it shares information about the car itself. In fact, it'll tell you whether or not the engine and the tires are ready for you to really push the vehicle to its max, which is great for a car like this. And what I like most about both of these displays is that they're in your eye line as opposed to over here or somewhere else. What's odd but also kind of cool is that instead of a center display like you would have in a regular car, the A12 has a passenger display that sits right in front of them above the glove box. Now with it, they can see how far along you are on a trip, they can see how fast you're going, and they can control your music. Now, other than the fact that they can hijack your tunes, I'm a fan of the system because it gives your passenger, your friend, your family member something to do while you drive a Ferrari. So maybe Ferrari was a little bit too on the nose naming the 812 Superfast, but it does exactly as it promises. It is a supercar in every sense of the word. It's fast, it handles great, and it's very, very expensive. For people who have deep pockets and can afford it, you're essentially buying a race car that you can drive to the track or to the store. For more automotive coverage from Engadget, including highlights from the upcoming Monterey Auto Show, be sure to subscribe.